Welcome to the Go Slow to Go Fast lifestyle podcast, where we explore how slowing down, living intentionally, and embracing life's natural rhythms can help us create a healthier and more meaningful life. I'm your host, Kendra Chapman, and today's guest reminds us that it's never too late to reinvent yourself. After spending 23 years as a successful corporate litigator, breaking barriers in a profession where women were still fighting for a seat at the table, Lorie Eber reached a point where outward success no longer matched the life that she truly wanted to live. Rather than settling into retirement, she spent nearly a decade asking a question many of us eventually face: what's next? And that search led her to become a nationally board certified wellness coach, healthy aging educator, college instructor, author, and speaker. Today, she helps women understand the science behind metabolism, hormones, stress, sleep, and healthy aging, all while offering practical, sustainable strategies that actually work in real life. In a culture that often tells us aging means slowing down in the wrong ways, can actually become our most meaningful one. Today, we'll explore reinvention after 50, women's health, metabolic wellness, purpose-driven living, and why taking better care of ourselves may be the greatest investment that we can make. Lorie, I just want to say thank you for agreeing to come on the Go Slow to Go Fast lifestyle podcast, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kendra. Happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited for our conversation today. I know we're going to get into a lot of great information for our listeners and viewers over here at Go Slow to Go Fast. But before we get into all that, do you mind just sharing how you go slow?
Right now, Sunday is Go Slow Day. I have designated one day of the week to go slow. But it freaks me out, I have to say, because I'm not a go slower by nature. I'm a go faster by nature. I have to say, I like that adrenaline rush. I do. It's very addictive, but it's not good. It's not the way human bodies and brains are designed to thrive. Took me a long time to get that through my fat head, but I finally have accepted the fact that that is a truism. And you can't just go on fumes your whole life and try to do more and more and more and take on more and show everyone you're superwoman and all that. It's not much of a life is what you're going to find. So Sunday is my go slow day, but I need to schedule things or I freak out because it's like I know I'm wasting time. Well, if I schedule a massage, guess what? I guess I'm going to go and I guess I'm going to justify it by it has therapeutic value too. It's not just about somebody touching you, making you feel good, it's helping your muscles and everything. For example, there's a massage place right walkable from my office right now. And for a while, I thought, I have time in the middle of the day. I have breaks between clients and stuff. It'd be nice to go over there and get a massage midday. You know what? I can't do it. I should be working. My head says no. It's bizarre what we do to ourselves, isn't it?
It is.
So that's how I go slow. I just decreed Sunday. So at least I got one day, and I do other little things all the time. I'm getting better at it, but it has really been a huge struggle for me in life. My biggest struggle. I love to work. I love to be engaged, feel productive. At the end of the day, I did all kinds of good stuff for people. That's really important to me. And I was really brought up with, I'm going to call it Jewish cultural mentality. Although we were told we were German Catholics, but you don't have time for that story. And so it was like achieve, 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 starting with grade school. Here's a buck if you get an A. If you don't get an A, you will be reprimanded. Expectations. And I was told in no uncertain terms that you're going to college, not like you have a choice. And an undergraduate degree is interesting, but it's only a stepping stone. You do not stop there. No, you need some kind of advanced degree. I suggest you be a doctor or a lawyer. Which one would you like to be? I said lawyer.
Mm.
So that was going on. That kind of stuff, it tends to hang with you long after the person who said it is deceased. It formed me as a child. And I mean, some of it, I think kids come out and they're all their unique individual with their own predispositions. But I remember one of my brothers who was also a lawyer, but not like me. He has a very different personality. He says, I don't understand why you're so driven, Laurie. I just don't understand it. And I thought, I'm driven? Really? I thought this was normal.
Not to like get too much into your personal life, but are you
I don't
what
care.
what I guess number in your sibling lineup are you?
I'm right in the middle,
Hmm. Okay.
middle kid.
Interesting. Yeah, my middle kid is very driven. Like I have to tell him to kind of like chill out a little bit. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. Hmm.
Do you think
Okay.
I'm right? They come out a certain way?
I do.
Yeah,
I
I believe that. Not having not having had any of my own and speaking from no personal experience whatsoever, that's my observation. They're just
yeah.
different.
hmm I agree. I think you come into the world with a certain disposition, a certain temperament, and then from there, you definitely have those outside influences, like you said. You have people telling you what they expect of you, and then you
Right.
decide. And yeah, hmm interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And bodies are like that too. They're unique.
Mm. hmm
They're formed in a unique way. They've done DNA testing on identical twins and found that they metabolize the same foods far differently. How
Yeah.
bizarre is that?
It's fascinating to me.
It
Yes.
is, and that's how little we know about metabolism of food. Hard
hmm
to believe.
Absolutely. Like, I think there's so many things about their DNA that are going to be the same. But if you think about it scientifically, think about all the traits that we don't get from our
Right,
parents.
right.
There's so many traits that might go to a sibling and not us. So it makes sense.
That's right. Yeah,
hmm
they're still very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Something to ponder in another
Yeah,
podcast, right?
right.
So many things. Okay. So your background is law. You were a litigator for 23 years.
Yes. It was a real career,
Mhm.
and I loved it. It was very, very, very challenging being a woman at that time and trying to bust through the doors and allow entry to the partnership ranks. That was hard. They made it really hard. And I just was of the mindset, I'm going to get there. I don't give up. You keep saying no, I keep coming back. And
Mm,
eventually I got in a very, very weird way, which I never would have expected in a million years, which still makes no sense to me whatsoever, but it worked.
mm.
It's a
Can
bizarre story. I don't know if you want to hear it or not, but it's very unusual, shall we say.
well,
But
I think it would be helpful for people to hear, but before you get into that, do you mind just sharing a little bit about what that time period was like when you went to law school and then trying to get
Mhm.
into a law firm? Like, what was it like then? Because I find those stories so fascinating too, the women that came before and what you did to get into those doors.
Yeah. 1981 was when I graduated from law school. At that time, I'd say the law school ranks were fairly evenly sexed finally, but law firm life was much different,
Mm,
much, much different. The first I practiced in a Chicago firm, very old, traditional, been there, 150 years, one of those. I don't think they had one female partner. They were starting to get a smattering of associates, but it was kind of a new thing for them. And they were not used to it. And then it kind of, while I was practicing, it sort of evolved to the point of we're perfectly happy to have them in as associates, but partners, oh, that's a whole different thing. And the reality is a lot of women at that time would drop out. It
mm,
was too hard. It's very incompatible life with a family. I didn't wanna have kids because I was so career driven. I made a decision, I'm not gonna have any children and feel guilty about it and not do a good job.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I made that choice. But any woman who wanted to have what I would call a normal life and have kids and stuff, they would leave. And I hired a lot of female associates, and I have to be honest about it. After a while, I got tired of hiring them because they all left. And I also did notice that some of the women had a very erroneous idea of how much fun it was to practice law.
Mm.
It was just like a feather in their cap. They thought it would be cool, and then they get there and they're like, "Man, a lot of this is grunt work and long hours." Whereas I think boys and men are more attuned to, "I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna earn a good living," and yeah, not everything about it. That's why it's called work, that kind of thing. So anyway, it was still very, very, very difficult to make partner in any size firm at all. So I came into the San Francisco firm. I stayed in Chicago for 3 years, and I transferred back to California. And as a lateral, which is what they called me since I'd come from another firm and had some experience, it's a little bit of wiggle room in terms of the tenure track and how long it takes and everything. But I remember it was about 4 years. I thought I was up for partner, and they kept saying no. And finally, I got the guts to say, "Why are you saying no?" Because I had no guidance about how you make partner in these firms, none. There was one woman who preceded me and sadly was not helpful and was a very different kind of person than I am. Did not help me. And I thought the way you made partner was you worked your butt off. And so I
Right.
was the highest biller in the firm because that's money. That's how they make money. And I thought if I just worked like a dog, I could be a partner. And then I finally started to see, no, there's all this political
Aw.
shenanigans going on here. There's all this old boy network stuff going on there. And I had a boss who was kind of disconnected from the law firm and not very tied in and had absolutely no interest in being my mentor. None. So I was sort of floundering on my own. Eventually, I kind of got affiliated with some of the male partners a little bit better. But finally, when I said, why am I not what I said, what do I need to do to make partner? Tell me and I will do it. That was
Mhm.
exactly where I was with this.
Mhm.
And they told me you need to improve your oral skills. And
Huh.
I said, okay. I had
In a
no idea what they
social
were.
aspect? Like out on the golf
I,
course
I
or
don't know what they were talking about.
Hmm.
But Kendra, this is what I did.
Mhm.
Do you remember the yellow pages?
Yes. We used
I
to
went
sit
to
on
the
them at
Yes,
at
I
dinner.
went to the yellow pages and I looked up speech consultants, and I found this woman who was called herself a speech pathologist
Mhm.
who had a an office close to where I was, and I called her up. And I said, "Here's the problem." And she was very intrigued and interested, and she quickly figured out that it was nothing to do with my oral skills, although
Mhm.
I do not have a traditionally female voice that modulates, and she spent a lot of time trying to get me to talk like a girl, which was a fail. But
Yeah.
that wasn't the issue. Here was the issue. I didn't look the part they expected.
But they
And
decided to tell you it was the way you talk.
yeah,
Huh.
and I
Okay.
don't think their feeling about how I should look was even on a conscious level. I think it was unconscious. There's like something about her is we're not comfortable with.
Hmm.
I think that's kinda how they felt. They liked my personality. I was tough. They
Mhm.
called me Tiger in the firm.
Mhm.
I was not, a girl who was gonna break down and run in the bathroom and cry. They knew that about me,
Yeah.
but somehow there was something about my physical appearance that they didn't approve of. And so they took her out to lunch to see if she was good enough to pay for 3 sessions for, and she psychoanalyzed the situation, came back to me and said, "Lorie, here's the problem. They don't like the way you look." So
I see.
she put me through this regimen. It was basically a legal partner makeover. That's exactly what it was. So first they did my colors, Kendra, which I thought was very hilarious, hocus pocus.
Like,
Then I went
seriously,
to
like you're a winter versus a fall kind of thing?
yes, seriously.
Okay.
Then some woman comes and she throws out half of the clothing in my closet and takes me to this very expensive boutique in an alley in San Francisco. And I buy all these custom made suits and shirts. And then I go get my ears pierced and I buy earrings. Then I go get a special looking hairdo and they give me 16 products to use, which I had never done
Not gonna
before. I
do
was like a
probably.
tomboy personality. I didn't wear makeup.
Yeah,
I didn't do any of that stuff. But I thought I dressed like an adult. I had a skirt and
right.
a jacket on, but it wasn't good enough.
Mm,
And what else did I do? Oh, I had to get my ears pierced and get earrings. I had to go and have a makeup lesson and take a little like a placemat thing like kids do in the restaurant, to show me how to do it in the future and buy all these products.
mm,
Big things. So I did all this crap.
yeah,
And
I
it
would
was
say it's
fun.
crap too.
It is crap. It rolled out, over, I don't know, 3 or 6 months. Nobody spoke a word about the difference in my physical appearance.
Mhm.
Nobody ever said anything to me. The next year I was a partner. I had
That's
not
crazy.
changed anything else. They
They
did
just
not quiz me on my oral skills. That's what it was. How
mm,
bizarre. So that's obviously sexist.
yeah,
Not
'cause they were
overtly, and I don't even think they understood what they were doing, but that's a bizarre way to make partner, wouldn't you say?
it is bizarre. I mean, they wanted you to go through all these hoops, and they don't even they're not even paying attention to half of the stuff that these people were having you change about your appearance.
No, and now I don't know even how much it registered with them.
Mm-mm.
I think it was on a subconscious level because that's a,
Mm,
a tight knit group. It's them thinking, do we want her going out representing us, our law
mm,
firm?
hmm,
And they didn't think she looked
interesting.
the part. Yeah, pretty
Hmm.
bizarre, huh?
It is bizarre, and I can think of a few things that they probably were violating,
I
trying to
agree,
get you to
but
change.
I totally agree with you, Kendra, but
Yeah.
my attitude going in was, "This is gonna be tough. I
Mhm.
am gonna be discriminated against. I don't
Mhm.
care. My goal is get in any way I can, and that's
Yeah.
my victory, and I can't change some guy who was born 50 years before I was and thinks women should stay home and bake
Yeah.
cookies.
No.
I'm not gonna change his attitude, but you know what? I wanna be a damn partner, and I'm gonna find a way.
Yeah.
But I'm
So you
not gonna be
found a
bitter
way.
and angry, because
No.
my victory is I get there, and I
Mhm.
also thought, in retrospect, if he told me this 4 years earlier, I would have done it. I don't care about it. I
Right.
don't care.
You just wanted to know what the expectation was so you could check the
Right,
box. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Mad Men? That show that was on a while ago
Yes,
at the
yes,
ad agency? I have not
yeah,
seen all of it, but I've seen 1 or 2 episodes, so I get the gist of
yeah.
it. I've heard it's very well written. I might go back and watch it all the way through, but it just kind of not I
Like
mean,
you
it
have
wasn't the
time,
50s
like
and
you have
60s.
time, Kendra.
I know, right? But even though that was made like in the 50s and 60s, I still feel like a lot of that culture
Yeah,
exists and existed well into the 80s and 90s for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge, and then I undertook a new challenge on my own, which was to open and run a branch office, and they just kinda said, "If you wanna do that, go ahead." We had one and it failed miserably, and I just thought, "I'm gonna find a way." I had no idea what I was doing, none. I just had total confidence I could pull it off. Where that came from, I have no idea,
Yeah.
but
I
it
think,
worked.
yeah, you knew you could do it. So good for you.
Yes, I
Yeah.
did somehow.
Mm. Hmm. So did you ever in your, time in law start your own firm or go out on your own?
Never.
Mm.
Here's one good reason. Most small law firms or solo firms, you do junky law. I call it door law, which is anyone who walks in the door. It's not intellectually challenging, it's not fun, it's not sophisticated. And what I liked about the practice of law was high stakes, working on teams with people, working with a lot of really smart lawyers. That's what was fun for me. I was never a lawyer who loved the law. You
Mm,
know, a new case came out. Oh, we got to read it and analyze it. I'm like, yeah, give me the synopsis. I'm not that interested. I saw law as a way to solve a problem. I didn't think it was this big sophisticated thing and you need to be a genius to do it. I think a lot of it is just have the right lingo and they're convinced.
mhm,
So it was about solving problems. That's all, okay, here's your problem. How do you want us to fix it? And playing the game. And it was a game, and I had to be tough with opposing counsel because they thought I looked like a little girl and they would, just run me over. So I pulled out the New Yorker in me, which was not hard. And
mhm.
they only tried it once, and that was the end of that.
I bet that was fun, though.
It was very fun. I was mean for 23 years, and that's one reason I got out of it, Kendra. It
Mm,
wore on me being such a hard ass all the time.
yeah, I bet. I mean, just having to put that on all the time. So I was gonna
Yeah.
ask you, what was the moment when you realized that it just wasn't filling your cup anymore?
There were 2 motivations, and really it was sort of a decision where things just started to pile up and accumulate because it's pretty drastic to retire from a well-paying, a high-esteemed position like that at age 49. Everyone in the firm was shocked. One was I kind of started to get that been there, done that feeling when I got to the office, and I thought, you're spending most of your life here. If you don't like it, get the hell out and do something you do like. And I also, the realization everything I had done in law was to prove to me that I could do it. That's what it was about. So, what else do you need to prove? Answer, I can't think of anything. So, maybe move on. I
Mhm.
had also gotten remarried to the right guy this time. The first one was a starter and didn't work. And it quickly became apparent that I could not go, okay, role number 2, loving wife, flip into it. I was still in boss mode. And he would say to me, I am not your secretary when I was talking to him. And I go, didn't make the flip. And I also realized, yeah, you have to actually expend energy and time into a relationship to make it work, which I had not done in my first marriage. And I thought, I'm a plus achiever kind of person. And if I'm still in law, I'm thinking about things all the time. It doesn't matter I'm out of the office. It's still my big concern in life. And I'm never going to be able to have the focus to spend to my husband and have a good relationship. And at the end of the day, on my deathbed, I'm probably not going to be saying, I wish I had built one more hour.
Right.
I'm probably going to be saying, at least my husband loved me. I wasn't totally useless in life. I
Mhm.
affected a
Mhm.
couple of people. That's what really matters. And I also thought, maybe you need to just get a job where there's more real personal fulfillment, more on a personal level. I liked the law, but it wasn't really like I felt like I was affecting anyone's life. And for some reason, I got the idea that I could do that and it'd be really fun.
Yeah. So how did your path lead you to the wellness space?
Wandered in the desert for 10 years trying various things till I latched on to exactly the right thing only 10 years later. Boy, was I quick. The other thing that happened along the way was I did acquire a teaching job because the first thing I did is I went back to school because Lori loves learning.
Mhm.
Lori can't have enough certifications, it turns out. And I just think it's fun to keep up and learn things. And my husband thinks I'm insane. And
Mhm.
there's no wall space left in my office, but that's okay. So I
Yeah.
went back to school in aging studies because I was thinking, where is there going to be a demand for work? And I thought, there's got to be something here. I know we have an aging population. Coincidentally, I had had an experience placing my dad in an elder care facility and quickly figured out how messed up the elder care structure is in this country and how confusing and stuff. So I got the certification. I did it wholly online so I wouldn't have to be on a campus with 18-year-olds because I didn't think I could stand that. Actually, I hated it the first time around, so I was not going to like it any better at age 49, most likely.
Mhm.
Then the course that I was taking, at the end of it, there was some kind of career advice practicum type thing. And I ended up going to the instructor's house for weird reasons. And she told me, we're talking about what can I do with this in terms of a career. And we bandied about all kinds of things. And she said, I think you should teach. I think you'd be a good teacher. I right away said, no, I don't want to teach. What are you talking about? But I stayed in touch with her in the department chair and I sneaked into the teaching profession. The way I did it was they had elder care courses that were free to the elders.
Mhm.
The teacher, which was me volunteering and creating a course and drumming up business and all that, I did all that stuff. But it was kind of a testing ground. So I did that for a bit and it was fun and I enjoyed doing it. That was one of the things I found out I could do in my wandering. And so then I got into the real curriculum and I ended up as an adjunct and I've been doing that for 20 years and I taught aging studies in the beginning and then we got a dean who was all into wellness. So now I created and teach 2 wellness courses, which is really even cooler.
That is
So that
cool.
happened along the way, and I did, I found out I like public speaking. Pretty good at creative writing, so I did a bunch of these things, but none of them seemed like a sustainable career. And so I found wellness coaching on the internet while just doing some investigation. I had no idea it existed. And
Mhm.
so I got certified to the hilt and everything else. And as soon as I figured out what it was about, I thought this is perfect for me. This is like being an amateur shrink and getting into people's heads and focusing on health, which is my thing. And I'd be
Mhm.
good at this. I just knew I'd be good at it. So, I rented an office space, started practicing on friends, and it took off. I've been doing it for 12 years now. And it feels very fulfilling to me. If I can help someone change their health, man, that's a big deal.
Yes.
That is a big deal. So I love the one-on-one and the back and forth. And when I started Kendra, it was more about weight loss because that was the hook for everybody. So it was more about, techniques to make it easier to choose healthy foods and exercise. But now I'm a lot more focused on some of the things that you're focused on: stress, sleep, rejuvenation, things like that, because I realize they matter as much as anything else in terms of how your metabolism performs. It's not accidental. They are a huge factor. And a lot of people, when they're trying to lose weight, they're just focused on the number on the scale, what food they're putting in their mouth. But there's so many other things that are affecting their metabolism. And, all this gets harder as you get older and the hormones change and everything slows down. And so I get a lot of women midlife who come to me and they were doing fine for a long time and now they're not doing so fine and they don't understand what's going on. So we
Yeah.
get all that fun stuff.
Can you lean into that a little bit? Thinking about women, and that is the demographic that we both work with primarily. I would say women in their middle years realizing their bodies aren't metabolizing the foods that they typically enjoy. Because, we get on a routine, we eat the same foods over and over again, and they used to be fine, and now they're not.
Yeah, same with
What's
exercise.
yeah, like what's going on with our bodies metabolically that we need to really think about? Is it just hormones? Is it just menopause? Is it other stuff?
The other stuff is called normal aging. Here's the design of the human body. It's what it's designed to do is reproduce. So it does really well until about age 35. That's when it's, just operating on all cylinders. That's the design. Then after that, in a very slow fashion, which accelerates more when you get up there, it slows down. Everything gets creaky, stiff, tight, needs lubrication, needs a lot of TLC, and people's behavior generally changes too, which they don't realize, which is they get more sedentary. A lot of them eat a poor diet. They do convenient stuff because they don't feel they're done cooking, that kind of thing.
Hmm. Yes.
And all of those things figure into it. And yeah, hormonal differences and all that matter a ton, particularly, the whole nightmare of perimenopause, menopause that we have to go through. All those things factor into it. And The tolerance for stress is so much lower, people don't realize it. One little thing now can stress me out. Before, I could handle 15 things and not even think about them. Now I'm like, I one thing is wrong, boy, I better go fix it now. Because otherwise, God knows, I'll just worry about it the whole time.
Mm,
But your
yeah.
body, I'm 70 years old now. I don't have the body I used to have. It cannot tolerate the same kind of behavior. I cannot cheat sleep and have a good day. There is no way. I can't, drink a bunch and be fine the next day. I can't handle a bunch of stressors and do well with them. I just can't. And I know that about myself. And so this whole concept of slowing down, it's really forced on you when you start to get older. It really is, because 'cause you're just incapable. I mean, I think about how I used to just hop out of bed, put on my running shoes, go for a run around the neighborhood. Now it's like, "Okay, let's get this engine rolling. Give me a half hour here, I'll think about it," you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
And then I'm like, I have to stretch now. I remember 20 or 30 years ago when I was going to a health club every day, they would have this section where there were mats laid out and people lay on the mats and, they would do stretching and the styrofoam roller things. And I would think they're just delaying their workout. What a waste of time. I don't know what they're doing here. Why don't you just go work out? And now I'm like, there was a reason, Laurie. There was a reason.
Mm, yeah.
There's a reason they were foam rolling. It wasn't just because they thought it was yeah. But at the time, I totally didn't get it. Now I get it. As you get older, you got to work on your flexibility or it's going away and you can't even move. You got to work on your balance or you're going to fall down. That's the reality. These things do not sustain. You can work on them, but you have to work on them. You cannot heft heavy weights anymore like you used to. And I'm really struggling with this because I was into lifting, I had a really buff body and I very tend to be very muscular. And oh man, every time I try to go anywhere near that, I hurt myself and it's a 6 months of pain.
Yeah.
So your
Yeah. I
body
mean, muscle mass, right? We lose so much of it.
we do. By age
Hmm.
80, you lose 50% if you don't do anything about it. So it's super important to lift. It's just that people like me who used to lift like men and are still trying to do stupid shit need to get a reality check. So now I go to a specialty gym for older people, says over
Hmm.
40. And we lift in a different safe way, and we have a trainer to stop us from doing stupid things that are gonna hurt us, and I need that because on my
Hmm.
own, I'm gonna hurt myself. So
Yeah.
right now, I got 2
Yeah.
bad shoulders and a bad leg, so I'm fine,
Mm.
and that's
I
from
mean,
trying.
yeah, you're somebody who has been lifting and you've been taking care of yourself. You've been a person that
It's so
moves frequently.
unfair, Kendra. It's so
Yeah.
unfair. I hate it, but, everybody tells me you gotta keep moving. I don't know, where that boundary is, and I keep going overboard. And the
Mhm.
thing is,
Mhm.
my muscles develop quickly, but the tendons and ligaments that are needed to support them,
Mm.
they're lagging behind and they get
Gotcha.
overstressed and they get pissed off at me and they yell.
Yeah, I would say
Last night
recovery
last
is
night was a
probably
yes, last night was a 2 ice pack night.
uh, so, like, I can remember I was an athlete in high school and a little bit in college, and I can remember the recovery. You do your arms and legs on different days,
Yes,
figure out your back, and then recover. You eat certain foods, and then drink lots of water. But now it's like you're going to think differently when you get into your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. You got to think differently in every decade because your
you
body's
do.
telling you, yeah, what used to work maybe a couple of years ago is not going to work anymore.
And
We've
you
got to
cannot
adjust.
fight your body. Your body is winning. Don't even go there.
Hmm.
Forget it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a very hard, thing in my head to accept.
Hmm.
And the fact
Yeah.
is my body still looks pretty good, but it doesn't function the way it used to. It's in
Yeah, I
pain
would not
all
say you were in your
the time.
70s. I didn't mean 70 doesn't look the way it used to in my mind. I
Right,
think, a certain
right.
way. But yeah, no way. I would have said much younger than 70.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I try hard, but I try too hard, and I don't know where the boundary is. My husband keeps telling me I should do nothing. I'm like, "No." And I can't sit around and do nothing, even if it hurts to move, I gotta move. That's who I
Mhm.
am. It's a very big part of just my whole self-view is that I move around and I stay in shape and I take care of my health and I eat very healthy and I plan my food. I don't eat out a lot anymore,
Mhm.
and I gotta keep socially connected. And here's one thing that a lot of professional women are guilty of, and I certainly am. I've lost track with most people.
Yeah.
I didn't have time. I don't have a
Mhm.
lot of childhood friends who I kept in touch with. My contacts were, my family was the law firm. That's where I lived. And here's what happens: you retire, your family goes poof on you.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
even when you do go have lunch with them, you know what? I got nothing in common with you. I don't want to hear about your stupid case. You're in
Right.
a
Yeah.
different
Yeah. You're
and
not
that
working
and
anymore.
right, you have nothing in common anymore, nothing to talk about. I have very few lawyer friends from my 23 years of practice. And I think that's reality, and that's one of the things that happens when people retire. What they don't realize is they just lost all their friends because, as it turns out, most of them are situational work friends.
Yeah.
And a
So
lot of
true.
people do not thrive under those circumstances because they just stay isolated. But my idea, when I retired from law, Kendra, I had no thought about not doing anything. Or my exiting email says, I have no idea what I'm going to do next, but I will not be staying home baking cookies. That was what Hillary Clinton happened to be saying at the time because of the dalliances. So I just fit that right in. But it was true. I hadn't
Yeah.
given it a thought because I was too busy trying to be a good girl and transition my clients properly. And so the first day, I remember just being like in a total panic because I had an identity issue, big time. I was Laurie the lawyer. Now I was Laurie. And I'm like, okay, I don't know her at all. What
Yeah.
is she like and how is she different? It was a big head adjustment and scary, very scary.
It can be. I mean, there are lots of people I'm sure listening and watching right now feeling the same way that their title, their role it was so much of who they were,
Yes, it's
are.
their identity,
Yeah.
and it
So
had
how
always been, and this was, I started this as a kid. I wanna go to law school. I
Mhm.
saw this show that was on at the time called Perry Mason. It was a
Mm.
criminal kinda lawsuit, criminal
Yeah.
defense lawyer, and he won every week, and I thought, "This is what I'm gonna do. This looks like fun."
Mhm. Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
had the notion early on after, although I was talking to somebody the other day and was reminded my mother kept little baby boxes for us. So I saw something I wrote in about the third grade. What do you want to be when you grow up? You know what I said?
What?
Teacher or a nurse.
Did you really? There you
I
go.
did. And I look at that now, I think that's very interesting. I was already
Mm.
brainwashed, but somehow I got out of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
those were allowed.
Mhm.
I did not put down lawyer at that time.
Hmm.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, that is interesting. Wow. Or it was your higher self saying, "This is what truly you want to do one day. You'll
Yes,
come back to it."
yes.
Hmm,
But
interesting.
that was my thought as a little girl. I was a very obedient little girl. I did what I was told, and I kept my big mouth shut, and I observed a lot. I was very shy and quiet and thought, "I'm not gonna say anything because I don't think I have anything useful to say," so I would just shut up and good student.
Mm, mm.
I've evolved.
Yes. Well, and I think, obviously you've gone through so many transitions in the last, what, 30 years? I mean, thinking about all the different things that you've done, and now you're a wellness coach. What are you seeing is, besides the sleep deprivation and stress, what are you seeing as far as a pattern with busy women?
Also, the social connections that we mentioned, those are so
Mhm.
important.
Yeah.
And here's what I see, Kendra. I see women. most of my clients come to me, they're in their 50s, 60s. They've never paid any attention to their health at all. And now they're in a bad place. Or they did for a
Mm.
while, or they did it inconsistently, stop and go. And now they're kind of at a place in life where it's like me time. I better pay attention to myself. They have a lot of motivators, like I want to travel, I want to be able to be around for my grandkids and get up off
Mhm.
the floor and stuff like that, practical things like that. I have very low energy. I hear that a lot. I have
Yes.
a lot of problems with sleep. Most of them will deny stress, but then when we start talking, they'll go, I guess I was more stressed than I realized.
Yeah, because it can look different now in your older years. Later years, can stress, like you said, could be any little thing that didn't used to bother us.
Right. And a lot of it is kind of we don't want to consider something a stress, and it really is, a little bit
Right.
of denial in there.
Right.
But I see a lot of women who sort of have neglected themselves, and I'd call part of it other directed,
Mm.
either career, kids, or both,
Mhm.
often both. And they've never had time for themselves.
Right.
And so they neglected themselves. I have mothers who come to me and we're talking about, why don't you eat till, noon? Well, because I'm getting up, I'm getting the kids off. Yeah, you're making them breakfast and lunch. Did it ever occur to you you could make some food for you? They go,
Mhm.
no, I never thought about that. That's how alien the concept is. That's how other directed their behavior is.
Right. And you think about like my husband, I mean, we joke a lot in my family. So my husband and his older son, because he had two children with a first wife before we had our three that are 11 now. But we joke around the holidays all the time. And I'm like, yeah, it's funny, but I need to really be paying attention to that. The Christmas story movie where, the narrator's, talking about his family dynamics. And he's like, my mother never had a hot meal her entire life. And it's like, yeah, like why do we do that to ourselves?
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
We're gonna
I
take
don't
care of
know. We're
so
just
yeah,
other directed, and I think a lot of women are just brought up with that, sort of instinct that that's what they should do, care for others.
yeah. Feed everybody before yourself and sit
Uh-huh.
down when you're done. And if you even think
Yeah.
about it or want to.
Yeah, and when you're trying to have a career or even just, a job, it
Mm-hmm.
gets really hard to balance all those things. And,
It
then there's a
does.
lot of difficulty. Husbands are a lot better than they used to be, but still, I
Yep.
think it's always going to come back to the woman. You had the kid, it's a different situation, it's a different bond. Your mother is somebody different from your dad, always will be.
Yeah, not even to mention the havoc they wreak on your body. But that's
Yeah,
another whole
there is
thing.
that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot. Women are, I think, maybe finally realizing that we putting ourselves first is not a bad thing, and
right.
it's actually something that we can do to
I I
prolong
try I
our
try to
health.
tell women this, you are a role model. If they see you exercise every morning and you take the
Mm-hmm.
time, even though you're taking time that they would be happy to use, they're gonna remember that. Maybe not
Yes.
immediately, maybe they'll rebel, but in the long run, they're gonna remember it. And they're gonna
Yes.
notice how you're eating. They're going to notice. Doesn't matter
Mhm.
what you say is blah, blah, blah. And then they see you scarfing down the snacks after dinner and they go, you know,
Mm-hmm.
mom, that's not what you're doing, so I'm not doing it
Mm-hmm.
either. So
True.
I use that a lot with women to try to motivate them early on to take care of their health because it does matter and kids remember stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Very,
observe
very true.
everything. You don't get away with anything.
No, you don't.
Being selfish and taking time out and doing things properly instead of taking shortcuts, you're doing them a good service. Also, if you're so stressed out and exhausted, you can't have patience for kids. You
No.
can't. So you have to somehow rejuvenate and get away and
Mm-hmm.
have some me time. And for a lot of women, the easiest way to make that happen is go exercise.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good
Yes.
stress reliever and it's a lot of times their only me time. But
True.
insist on it. somebody can take care of the kids for an hour when you're at the gym and just make it
Mhm.
happen because it matters.
Mhm. Yeah. Or you can go for a walk with the kids if they're old enough
Right.
and they wanna walk with you, you can
Yes,
put the
and just
family
make it,
time in there.
this is what we do after dinner. Instead of
Mhm.
sitting in front of some kind of a screen and
Yes.
snacking, we go for a walk every night. Kids remember that.
Yes.
I remember my dad, we called it an apple walk, and that's what it was. Three
Oh,
little kids about the same age, and he'd have an apple. He loved apples, and we'd each get our one little teeny bite. We'd walk around the neighborhood, and I remember that very fondly.
mm,
Even now, sometimes I get an apple and go for a walk just to get the feeling back. I'm going for an apple walk. I mean, I just thought it was cool and I still remember it.
that is cool. Yeah. And I think they do that in many cultures, definitely in Europe. They'll go for a walk after dinner.
Yeah,
And yeah, I wish, we could do that
I
more. And
I
there's no reason why you
advocate
can't.
that a lot. It's actually a thing, Kendra, and they're called fart walks
Okay.
for a reason. And a lot of scientists are now recommending we walk after every meal because it starts the digestive system moving.
Mm,
And I can tell you there's something to it.
that
My
makes sense.
husband said it before it was a thing. He said,
Mm,
it's really important for the GI system. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
yeah.
Apparently it's true. But very few people can make it a habit to walk after dinner. They're too tired, they're too lazy, they got excuses. We walk every single night, and I can tell you this time of year
Mm,
we actually see other human beings. If
that's
it's
good.
dark, it's cold, it's rainy, you don't see anybody because they don't do
Yeah.
it. Fair
Yeah.
weather walkers. What
Mm-hmm.
does help is get a dog.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yes.
helps.
Yes. For sure. Yes. Smart dogs get us up every morning at 5:30. And whenever the
Uh-huh.
sun comes up, they're
That's right.
ready.
You do not
Yep.
have a choice.
Nope. Mm-mm. That's a good thing. Gets you up and out of the bed. Yeah.
Yep.
And, some mornings it's slower than others, but it's okay. That does
Yep.
help when you have an animal because they're regimented. They've got a routine.
Yep. And also
Mhm.
they can have a nice calming influence. There's a lot of
Yes.
studies about petting animals and people calming down and stuff.
Absolutely.
And
Have
they're
you?
unconditional love. You can't beat that.
No, you can't. Have you, in your wellness work with women, have you been seeing any of the research around GLP-1s and how they possibly maybe have some positive side effects for, memory, like brain health?
Well, the first thing I have to say is GLP-1s are killing my business, Kendra. So I don't
Mm,
like them, but I do not think they're a terrible thing either.
mm,
I think a lot of people need them.
mm-hmm,
65% of the population's overweight or obese, and I can tell you from my coaching experience, if you've been overweight and obese for decades, your body is very reluctant to change. It's going to take a very long time, and you're going to get very tired of the process. And so I think, a large percentage of overweight people can benefit from the drugs. I don't like the idea that it's a quick fix, but it's the only weight loss drug we've ever had that actually works. It works for most people.
but,
Unfortunately, they're not doing it right, and the doctors don't care, and the doctors are not
mm,
telling them what they need to do to use the medication properly. And people are
mm,
eating crap, they're just eating smaller amounts. And
mm-hmm,
they're not strength training and they're losing muscle mass,
yes,
ultimately slowing the metabolism down. So there's certainly a place for a coach like me in this new world of
yes,
LPs, but people are not interested. They've
mm.
already spent their money on it or they don't think it's necessary, but the doctors are not telling them. They're just writing the prescription.
But the
I
long-term effects, like you said, muscle mass loss, if you're not
Yes, and
careful,
all
you've got to
kinds of
have.
other things that we don't know about. I mean, the
Mhm.
use is getting way ahead of the research. My guess is there are some pretty bad long-term effects. We don't know what they are yet, and this is a place that big pharma is making billions of dollars, and there is a race to research this and that and this and that. And one out of every eight Americans is taking them. Last I read, 1 out of 8. But most people are not going to take them forever. Oprah to the
Mhm.
side.
Right.
But I
Right.
do hear physicians saying now it should just be a maintenance dose. It's just like your high blood pressure medication. What's the difference? To me, I'm sorry, I still think it's a form of cheating, and I still think it does not give you a desirable life. Because think about it. What they do is you get full a lot quicker with eating less, and your stomach empties slower. So that leads to a lot of GI problems, as you might expect. But
Yes.
more to the point, let's just think about restaurant dining, which is how we socialize in this world. You go out, you order an entree, all you can eat is 3 bites. Oh boy,
Yeah.
was that enjoyable.
You don't enjoy it. No.
And for some people, food becomes disgusting. A lot of people have a lot of GI side effects. And a lot of people stall out on the drugs. And for something like 10%, it doesn't work at all. And now they're saying it's going to cure every disease known to man.
Mm.
Everything.
Hmm.
The only good research I've really seen is PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which they now just renamed PMOS or something. But there is good research that helps a lot of the symptoms, and I've had a couple clients who are on it, and it is helping them in way more ways than it helps most people. But one thing I do hear from a certain percentage of people on the drugs, and I'm coaching a fair number of people who are on the meds, and I don't have a problem with them being on the meds. I just want them to do it right. Is it the food noise stopped?
Yes.
I've never had food noise, but they think about food all the time. And that makes it very hard not to indulge and overindulge. And so they say, "What a relief. This is how most people's brains work. Oh, man, you have it easy." So I
Yeah. But then
found
I've
that,
also heard that women or whoever's taking it also forget to eat. So there's.
yes, I know they're starving
Mm-hmm.
themselves, and that's
Mm-hmm.
not good either. Or they're
Mm-mm.
forcing themselves to eat. And here's what I know. Eating is one of the most pleasurable things in life, and to take it out of that category is not a good thing. It's the last thing we give up before we die. And I had a wimpy version of COVID. The only symptom was no taste, no smell. I was so miserable. I could not believe it. I'm there eating food because my stomach is growling. I have no idea what it is. It tastes like absolutely nothing. It could be anything. I
Yeah.
was so miserable trying to research the hottest pepper on the planet, see if I could wake something up, and nothing was happening. And that really made me realize what a big deal food is to us. How we are just programmed to really, really enjoy food. And I think if it goes in a different category, that's pretty sad.
Yeah. That would be sad. Well,
I
hopefully,
I think
excuse me.
drugs are also good for people who have been losing weight and they get on a plateau and get frustrated. That'll, kickstart it for a while. I think they're good for that. But as a long-term answer, no. I think it's another quick fix, and it's a drug, and it has side effects. And we know the short-term ones. We don't know the long-term ones, and that scares me.
Yeah, that can be very scary if we're not working with a professional, working with our doctors and making sure we're using it in the right way, like any
Yeah, and
drug.
a lot of people are getting them without talking to a doctor.
Mm, that's scary too.
That is scary.
Mm, okay. So we've talked about a lot in the wellness space, and I'm just excited to hear kind of any last thoughts that you have for us before we wrap up this conversation.
Yeah, here's my last thought. I'm older now and I'm able to spend more time just kind of reflecting on life and what matters and what doesn't. And one thing that I really try to offer to people is just this idea of we get so stressed out about so many things that mean so little in the long run. Get a big bucket and start putting, I don't really care that much about this in that bucket and focus on the stuff that you really care about that matters and don't, spend all night having a nasty argument with your husband that was oh so important at the time and the next day you're going, I know we had a fight, sweetheart, but what were we arguing about? Neither of you even knows. We spend a lot of time doing that, and I try to focus more on, if you can be kind to somebody, stranger, a friend, a family member, do that. Why not? It doesn't hurt you any. That's the kind of thing that matters in the long run, sort of just a different focus. Yes, achievement is nice, but it's not everything. I mean, it's the happy person who won the lottery in life, right? It's not the guy who's got a bazillion dollars who was unhappy the whole time. So sort of refocus. And that's part of slow down and just, when you're going go, 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 I think part of it is kind of a defense mechanism, not allowing any time to reflect because you don't want to see what's there. You're just right. And I remember writing several blogs. I feel like I'm racing through life, just trying to keep all the balls in the air and not have it crash. That's not life. That's craziness. And I really think technology is making all of that much more challenging to handle and to balance because we feel like we should be ever present to everybody who's contacting us immediately. And I think that's really amped up the stress in our society.
Absolutely. I think it's been a great conversation with you, Lorie. I think you've refocused anybody out there who's listening or watching to really focus on what matters because, it's just a waste of time if you're going to focus on all the silly stuff and,
And
stuff that doesn't matter.
we don't get a second chance. There's no do-overs. No
Mhm.
do-overs.
No,
Messed it up, you're old and you messed it up.
right? Well, for anybody who's interested in working with you or learning more about what you do in the world, where can people find you?
They can find me easiest on my website, Lorie Eber Wellness Coaching. I'm all over social media. I'm pretty easy to find. But Lorie Eber Wellness Coaching. That's me.
Be sure we have that information in the show notes as well.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. Yes,
It's been
thanks
it's
for
been fun. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and listen to my story and all that. I appreciate it.
thanks for being here and thank you for all the good work that you do in the world. Take care.
Okay. You too.
Well, that's it for today's episode of the Go Slow to Go Fast Lifestyle Podcast. I love that Lorie's story reminds us that our greatest chapter doesn't have to be our first one. Whether we're navigating career transitions, hormonal changes, or simply asking what's going to be next, Lorie showed us that reinvention begins with curiosity, intentional choices, and a willingness to care for ourselves in new and different ways. One message that really stood out for me is that healthy aging isn't about chasing perfection. It's about building sustainable habits that allow us to show up with more energy, more purpose, and a joy for the people and the work that we love. To everyone listening, be sure to connect with Lorie, explore her educational resources, and follow her work if you're ready to better understand your metabolism, support your health, and embrace this season of life with confidence. If today's conversation encouraged you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend, a sister, a colleague, or someone who needs the reminder that it's never too late to begin again. You can leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else that you listen to this podcast. We also post this podcast on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Kendra Chapman Living 123, and the video version will come out on the same channel, a different playlist. So until next time, remember, sometimes the most powerful way to move forward is to slow down and to honor the season you're in and trust that your best chapters may still be ahead. And as always, remember, the light in me honors the light in you. And as you head into the rest of your week, let your light shine through. Go slow to go fast, and thanks for listening.